Hey everybody, welcome to American Courts Live. We got Bitter Harvest. We even got Fozzie's cat in here tonight, so we're ready for a good show. We got some craziness in Thurston County, which is every week, and we've got some Judge Boyd to start us off. Hey Jay and Linus and the other moderators, thank you so much for being there. Make sure to everybody to thank the moderators. Um, Jen Hardy was in here. I think she took off for a little bit, but she'll be back. We even got Hawaii Breeze in here, so we've got our foreigner in here. And we don't count Linus. KK, how are you doing? Victoria, did you have the day off today, Victoria? There are some people curious about that. Let us know if you had the day off. We're going to jump into Judge Boyd, and then we'll get on to the Thurston County Madness. It looks like the girl's in there with headphones with bunny ears on it at first, so let's see.
CR 0. Court is calling 2023 CR 0939, State of Texas versus Michael Grant Douglas. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Jason Garrett, Your Honor.
Defense.
Joseph Lassen, good afternoon, or good morning still.
Are you Mr. Douglas?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Did you understand you're charged with the offense of felon in possession of a firearm as a third-degree felony?
Yes, ma'am.
Range of punishment is anywhere from 2 to 10 years in prison. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
With sentencing?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything you wish to say on behalf of your client?
Your Honor, this was an unfortunate incident in which he was being followed by his wife in his wife's car, and the firearm was in a bag in the trunk, unaware from my client. That's the reason why he is pleading guilty today, so that he can put this past him and move forward. He's working and he's learned a lot since this incident.
Wait a minute, you're saying that he was being followed by his wife?
His wife was in a separate car. It's in the report, Your Honor.
Okay.
She was following him, and he was driving, and then he got stopped by the police for running a red light. And he's working, and he is really learned from this first incident.
All right. He didn't learn from his prison time because we're here.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it seems like everything with him happens in January. Maybe you should spend the entire month of January inside your house.
No, ma'am. I was going through it with my wife. The bag is actually the guy she was seeing.
Well, I mean, it says he threw it out the car.
No,
I mean, they're drug paraphernalia. That's what it
yes.
says. Was thrown out
the
the
drug
car.
paraphernalia. The firearm
Yes.
was in the trunk of the car.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to my client, he didn't know that it was in the trunk of the car. It was his wife's car.
Oh. So you want a jury trial?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So if you're drug tested today, what are the results going to be?
Positive for marijuana. That's it.
All right. Why are you using drugs?
I cut trees down and it just relaxes me after a day of work. It's
When's
more
the-
medicinal than social. I'm not out smoking weed with everybody.
When's the last time you used?
Last night.
Okay. Why would you use marijuana when you know you're coming to court the next day? That's not somebody who's made changes, counsel.
I understand.
You're going to have to start making better decisions. Otherwise, you're going to prison.
I understand that completely.
All right. And how much time did you last time you went to prison?
I did 10.
Yeah. Was that a fun time?
No, I'm not trying to go back ever. The gun, it didn't belong to me. It was her guy
What?
she was seeing, and I was trying to get my car back. The car that she owns. We're married.
What do you want a jury trial? Again, that's what I asked you. All right. So are you still with your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor. They've worked out a lot of their issues, and they have reconciled.
I moved to another state. We went through a lot.
What state
North Carolina,
and which county?
Robinson.
All right. Here's the thing about relationships. This is me giving you some advice. If you decided to forgive someone for their indiscretions, you can't bring it up during arguments.
That's fine.
So if you all have not worked through that, it's just sitting in the corner waiting to come out whenever it comes out.
Now we're in counseling and everything. We legitimately trying to move past it. We have moved past it. It's just this hold up on this case that I have in front of me.
All right. Do you all have any children?
I have a child that doesn't belong to me. That's hers.
All right, how old is the child?
13.
And that's the only child you have?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, what is your employment? What do you do?
I cut down trees. I'm an arborist. I do some contract work for Cleanscapes right now. I'm working for Andy's Landscape, but I also do work for MTX. I have a pretty good name in the landscaping field out there in San Antonio.
So what's the problem with magnolia trees when they're just like not blooming?
Magnolia trees that won't bloom.
Yeah.
Probably need to put a little coffee in there, get a little fertilizer. They could be sick.
All right. And if they're sick, what are they usually?
I stop by the apartment, I cut them down.
Oh,
Tear
so
them
you
up,
go out and
yeah.
you kill trees?
Yes. I can identify a few, areas, but
Okay.
knock them down.
All right. This is what the court is going to do. So you actually live in North Carolina right now?
No, I'm a Texas resident.
Okay. Well, what are you saying? You all are in North Carolina now?
We went through a whole separation, me and my wife did, through this whole ordeal. I left Texas. We went through counseling. I come back.
Oh, so now you're back in Texas.
Yes, I'm a resident of Texas. It was just a temporarily.
All right. The court will sentence you to 6 years in the prison, suspended and probated for 5 years. Is there anything else you need from the court in order to be successful?
Some freedom.
Okay. All right. We can go off the record. You're going to have to do better. Good luck to you. I hope your relationship works out.
It will.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe step back, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are you the same Michael Grant Douglas Jr. who's placed on community supervision and cause number 2023 CR 0939 for the offense of felon in possession of a firearm on April 24, 2023 for a term of 5 years? Is that you? State.
The supplement form, Your Honor, on violating condition number 4 in Bear County, Texas, the defendant Michael Grant Douglas Jr. defendant there failed to report to the supervision officer as directed for the months of December 2023, January, February, March, April, May, June, July of 2024, violates condition number 3.
How do you plead to that? True or not true?
Violating condition, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
Did you understand by pleading true to violation of condition number 4, the court could find it true, grant the motion, sentence you to 6 years in prison and up to a $500 fine? Knowing that, do you still wish to plead true to violation of condition number 4? Court will find violation of condition number 4 true. Is there a proposed agreement?
There is, Your Honor.
Yes.
It has revoked the individual officer's probation, reformed the underlying sentence of 6 years to 3 years, Texas Department of Corrections.
All right. Is that the proposed agreement?
It is, Your Honor.
Are you waiving your right to appeal?
Yes, ma'am.
Probation?
Yes, sir.
Are you in agreement with revocation?
Yes, sir.
And has he done anything since he's been on probation?
Judge, we did experience classes. We did provide employment, DNA sample, and we made payments in the amount of $1,164.
All right. So what was outstanding for him on his probation?
Oh, and I'm sorry, I believe because he completed his parenting classes, he waived his community service hours, which were $150.
Okay.
Judge, there weren't any classes that were still outstanding. The total balance on the account is $2,803.
All right. Do you want to raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Michael Grant Douglas Jr.
All right. What happened? Why were you not doing well on probation? Why were you not reporting?
My past came to get me, I had a assault case that my probation officer told me about. And I just thought that if I kept reporting, she was gonna lock me up. So I stopped reporting. And then when I got my lawyer, I spoke to Juan. He said, because it was prior to my probation, that I really just messed myself up. I have no reason why I couldn't comply except for that. it just was a bad decision that I made.
Yeah. You know, I don't know why people think they can run for their problems. If you address your problems head on, all you have to do is pick up the phone. I tell everybody who comes in here, if there's an issue with probation and you're talking to them and you feel like they're not addressing it, you can always come in here. And if you would have called an attorney, they would have told you when you're placed on probation, whatever happened before doesn't necessarily mean that a motion to revoke is going to be filed. Any objection to the court reviewing the court summary?
No, Your Honor.
All right,
And
so,
Judge
yes.
Michael's credit, even though he was not reporting throughout all this time, he's making his payments that were due online.
Okay. All right, this court is going to do. Court will find violation of condition number 4 true, revoke, sentence you to 2 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served. Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
Because it's plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
All right, we can go off the record. Well, other than not reporting and running from your problems, you did very well on probation. I hope you've learned you can't run from problems. They're still going to be there when you stop running. All right, good luck to you.
Thank you, Your Honor. May we be
Yes.
excused.
Yes.
Hey, did she just give him 2 years in prison for not reporting? That seemed kind of rough, but I've heard she's like that with her probation. So, hey, Bodie, good to see you here. We got LD's here too. Hey, man, Myco Psycho. We got a good crowd tonight. We're going to go over to Thurston County, where it's just I no other way to say it. Dumb people after dumb people acting up. More property line arguments. Just more fun. I kind of like that kind of stuff because it's a little less serious than sending someone to prison for 2 years. So here we go.
You can come up, ma'am. You can come up. Take a seat there. And any one of those seats. Seats. Chairs. That's all right.
Thought you were handing me something.
I will in a minute.
Okay.
Same day. No. 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
We'll go the 30th. My mistake. We're gonna we do these for 14 days.
Mhm. What happens if like she keeps dodging it?
Well, eventually then, we can't enter an order till he's served, basically. And I know, and I remember she apologized.
It's
The
okay.
conversation that we had last time, I think there's a no contact order in place in the other case. So that still remains. But sometimes if they can't get people served, then I can't enter an order. That's just the way it is. And sometimes, and a lot of times, if you can't find someone, it also means they're not bothering you.
Right.
And so hang on just a second. So right now, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. In a couple of weeks, it'll be me again. We'll have a different conversation and then we'll just kind of see where this goes.
But
I can't enter an order without service. Go ahead, you can
Right.
say something.
But like if the next one they aren't able to serve it to her again, like would I just get another temporary
We
one?
can reissue. We
Okay.
can
Okay.
reissue. There's not a time limit on that, but eventually it's like, yeah. I mean, again, I'll just leave it open at this time.
Yeah.
Yes? Yes, that was my understanding.
We don't have a copy of
You can get that from Superior Court. And so you can go over there, they're right across the, let me give me just a second. Right across the courtyard here, go over to building number 2. Yeah, and And if you need a cause number on that, I can tell you what that is. And then you go over there. Do you know that?
Do the
It's
case
20
number?
Yeah,
Do you have that?
it's 24-1.
Hold on, sorry. Okay. Oh, you have it?
No. I'm not
Okay,
gonna-
24-1.
Oh, well, she did send me something, but we can't open it, so I just emailed her.
Okay, all right, thank you.
But it does show.
Okay, so come back to you,
Yeah.
24-1-01059-34.
Okay.
That's the cause number. If you go over there and talk to them at Superior Court, they should be able to give you a copy of the order.
Okay.
To be, well, I'm not gonna tell her what you should or shouldn't do. It's not appropriate for me to advise people.
Fair,
But
fair.
if,
It shows service. but I
okay,
don't
so
have
hang
that.
on just a second. So, that's a decision that she needs to make. There is a no contact order in place, and sometimes people rely on that. Sometimes people want a separate order in this court as well. That's not a decision that I make. And I'm not going to advise, I don't want you to take this as advice one way or the
No.
other. But for that, did you get the, I'll give you this. In this case, though, we'll see you back here on September 16th, 2 weeks from today. And then when she prints that for you, when she calls you to come up, come on up.
Sorry. Get excited. So go back, sit here right now.
No, you can stay right there.
Okay.
Just don't. Gilbert is here. Why don't you come on up and take a seat? And then who are you with?
I have a friend and handyman come with me.
Okay, he can stay back. He can stay back there for now. And then if he testifies, he can come up later. But right now, we'll just stick with you. And then Mr. Stegman. No, wrong one. Wrong one. Mr. Fogel, you're on the Zoom call there.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so before we start this, just a minute. When you're done, ma'am. Following that, I'll make a determination whether or not some of these cases, temporary has been ordered, some of them haven't. But I'll make a decision whether or not the order will continue for the next year. Again, just the way things work here in court, you don't talk over the other party. I want all comments directed to me. You're going to hear things you don't like. You're going to hear things you disagree with. And there are rules we have, and I want everybody to follow them. And we'll go from there. So Ms. Gilbert, could you raise your right hand, please? You swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You can put your hand down. Go ahead.
Eric Fogel makes me very uncomfortable because he has no reason to be in my neighborhood. He lives several miles away in an apartment where he was served the hearing protective order. He keeps breaching our property and coming into my yard. He mowed our grass, called and ordered our landscaping company to mow our grass. He has people parking in our driveway when we are out of town without our permission. He has escalated further, crossing over my property lines and even further now past my 6-foot cedar fence into my secure backyard while we were gone just for the day and had 24 of our 20-foot high bush trees cut down in half without asking. I did not want them cut, and he had absolutely no right to cut my trees. And I am terrified that someone who doesn't live in our neighborhood thinks coming into someone's fenced backyard and cutting their trees is okay. We had just left for the day with our grandchildren who are visiting for a short term time. And I'm scared how he could know we were gone, as we did not tell anyone, but he is watching us in our neighborhood. He pulled up his car next to me in the next lane at a traffic light and was waving his arms frantically at me. And the day after he was served this protection order, he came to the end of my driveway, and I have photos, and he's screaming and yelling at the end of my driveway. I have video, and I sent it to a police report I filed. And
What was he yelling?
I think he called the neighbor to complain that I had put a protection order on him. And so he was screaming, and I sent it to a police officer. I couldn't leave because he was blocking my driveway. And so then after I finally saw he left, I left for the night and stayed in a hotel. I had to work on Monday, so I came back very late the next day. I've lived there 5.5 years. He's never lived in my neighborhood.
When did all this start? You've been there for 5.5 years.
He was supposedly lived there a long time ago. He got divorced from his wife, and he still comes to the neighborhood. I don't know why.
But when did this start with you in the yard and all
Ever
that?
since we've lived there, he runs up to you if you're outside. He'll run up to you and start talking to you, and he's got no one around him. I don't know why he's in our neighborhood, but he runs up and talks to anybody if they're outside, and he just won't stop talking. He's a lonely, retired old guy that I don't know why he comes to our neighborhood and doesn't stay in his apartment area where he lives. I'm at home by myself for extended periods, and he's setting off my alarms all the time, crossing our property lines. He's always doing something out in the yard, and he's looming around our property. He seems to know what we're doing at any time. Our landscaping company didn't understand English very well, so they didn't understand why this guy's telling them to cut our grass when we did not authorize them to tell them to do that. I've witnessed them screaming and yelling at our trash truck. He doesn't live in the neighborhood. I can't sleep at night, and I have a medical condition, and I even coughed blood yesterday. So I just need to get a protection order so that I can, when I call the police can come. I have someone here for protection.
Okay. Mr. Fogel, could you raise your right hand? And do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
What's your response to, hang on just a second. Do you live in that neighborhood?
No, Your Honor. I come over here to help my ex-wife out with her yard and anything she needs done. I had lived here. I moved into this neighborhood, bought the house here in 1993. I lived here to 2013. After the divorce from my ex-wife, I went ahead and moved out at that time in August of 2013. The only reason I come over here is to help my wife out. She's by herself. She doesn't have anybody else except for my 2 daughters. One daughter lives in California. The other lives in Algona, Pacific.
Um,
Can I respond to her?
yeah, yes, I
Last
am.
Thursday.
Hang on just a second. Yeah, could you raise your right hand, please? You swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Last Thursday, I was coming for a dental appointment. I was coming down Marvin Road, going to my apartment after my appointment. I pulled up to the intersection next to the McDonald's there where Panda Express is across the street. I noticed Miss Gilbert was pulled up in her truck next to me, waiting to make a left-hand turn. I had my window down, the radio was on. All I do is look over. I was going to make a hand gesture to say hello. She raised the window and looked straight ahead. As far as the commenting on talking to her neighbor across the street, I wasn't frantic. I just asked him, you know, how he was doing. And I'm friendly with all the neighbors in the neighborhood. Like I said, I've been here 28 years. I know everybody in the cul-de-sac. And the only reason I come over here is to help my ex-wife out. That's all. As far as being frantic or anything, I don't know what she's talking about.
Well, she says she would, well, for one thing, well, I mean, why are you?
I just do it as a gesture to help my wife out. That's all. We had been married 28 years.
How does mowing other people's yards help your wife out?
I had done that. It explains in my respondent statement, Your Honor, that the lawns are adjoining between Mrs. Gilbert and Mrs. Fogel's. And all I did was ask her neighbor, what she put in her statement, Chris Tolley, which was watching her house. And I asked Chris, I said, hey, if you need a hand mowing Mrs. Gilbert's yard, because he was doing it while their landscaping service stopped at the end of September 2023 while they were gone for a year. And just because the two lawns adjoin, it takes me all of 10 or 15 minutes to mow her yard. It was just being neighborly and courteous. That's all I was doing. And when I went out and picked up Mrs. Fogel's front yard, I picked up the branches, the pine cones, and whatever was in her flower beds at the time. Because she has a big maple tree in the front, which you'll see in one of the pictures that I submitted. During the fall, the maple leaves fall and they blow into everybody else's yard, including Mrs. Fogel's and Mr. Tolley across the street. And I raked them all up, put them in Mrs. Fogel's bins. It took care of them. They took them away with the recycling. I was just being a courteous neighbor. That's all. You wanted, they also share a common bed next to between Mrs. Gilbert's house and Mrs. Fogel's house. I asked Mr. Gilbert before they left in July, do you mind me maintaining this while you're gone? He said, no problem. You know, he said, I'll keep it weeded, I'll keep it pruned and take care of all the weeds. And at that time, beside the house is an entrance to the gate, which is one of the pictures, which is always open. I went over and raked the pine cones and raked the branches from the three fir trees that they have over the tower over Mrs. Fogel's house.
What, do you have anything you wish to say?
We stop our service. They know we don't want our grass cut from October to April because it doesn't grow. We never get fined from our HOA. This guy tells our mowing company what level to mow our grass. He has told them when to cut our grass. We did not want him cutting our grass. We don't want him on our property. He went behind our fence and cut 24 tree bushes. They're 20 feet tall.
Yeah, I saw them. Was that on your property?
Yes, behind a fence. And we were there. He did a lot of things while we were gone. We could see him on our camera walking around our property. But when we were gone, when we were home, he's even done this, escalating. And we were with our grandkids. We left for the day. I don't know how he knew we'd be gone, but he had 24 trees cut while we were gone just for the day with our grandkids.
And Mr. Fogel, what say you to that?
And he doesn't live there. He's
Okay,
not a neighbor. He's not being neighborly.
I know that. I know that.
Okay.
You want to, I talked to Mr. Gilbert about trimming the shrubbery on Mrs. Fogel's property twice prior to them leaving at the end of July of 2023. His explanation to me was it cost too much money. His landscaping company wanted $1,500. Now, I'm not sure if that was the whole property or just her trees. So I said, well, I'll get with you when you get back. And they got back in July. I asked him again about it and he didn't know what they were going to do. So I said, okay, I called their landscaping company. Their landscaping company gave me a bid. They came over, they pruned the trees on Mrs. Fogel's property. They never stepped foot on Mrs. Gilbert's property whatsoever. They raked up all the branches and hauled the branches away. And we cut the branches, the things that were holding. You'll see the picture. It's picture number 1 that was overgrown on the south side of Mrs. Fogel's fence. And the damage to the fence is pushing the post over, which I rebuilt the fence in summer of 2022 at a cost of $550. I did not get any money from them. They tied their fence into her fence, which they never came and asked to do that. And her landscaping company came and did it for a price of $500.
Who paid them?
I paid them, sir.
Um,
There's pictures of
then
him.
there's Mike Gilbert. He's not here.
No, he's out of town.
Okay.
There's pictures. He's lying. He walked up to my husband and complained that he paid $500 for them. He paid them come into our backyard and cut our trees, and we took pictures, and that's what you see. It's cut way back from our,
I see the pictures, yeah.
he did that.
Hang on.
We
just a
didn't want them cut. He harasses us about our yard all the time. And we don't get any fines. There's nothing wrong with our yard.
So does Mrs. Fogel,
We never see him
your
with her.
ex-wife, does that, do they live next door to you?
She does, and we
Yeah.
never see her outside, and we never see him with her.
Is that
ever.
you, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm not sure why she doesn't put a protection order on.
Well, I just do, we're not.
Yeah.
You don't.
He's there like every single day from 6:30 to 9 and then leaves between noon and 4. Almost every single day.
Okay, you can stop, ma'am.
Did you want these photos of him at the end of my driveway?
Yes, if you could hand them forward. So, Mr. Thank you.
He's waving
Is that his
arms.
car?
Yep, and he's waving his arms frantically. There was video I sent to the deputy.
And when was this? It's hard to, it's kind of
I
hard to
have it on
see.
my phone for
But
the
there's,
date.
there's
They
some
didn't-
pictures here where basically that you were at the end of the driveway after you were being served, trying to get her attention. Is that?
I wasn't getting anybody's attention. I was talking to a neighbor, Chris Tolio.
Okay, all
I
right.
had
You can
stopped
free,
over there.
you can go back and sit back down, ma'am. You can take these with you.
Yes, I was under the assumption you wanted it was a petition for restraining order, but I
Mhm.
wasn't under the assumption that the restraining order was in.
It was, and you're right. You're right. But all right. And you're Mrs. Fogel, you're her next door neighbor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, do you have anything you wish to add or say? You don't have to, you're just,
Yes, I do.
could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can put your hand down.
Your Honor, I know Eric for over 40 years. He has never been irrational or threatening to anybody, as far as my knowledge. He's very helpful to me to do what I need him to do for me. As long as we've been here, he has never had any confrontation with anybody for the 20 years that we were married and lived here. He know just about all the 20 homes in our developments and all the people that live there, and he talked to them all the time. He's just a friendly person. I mean, he enjoyed doing the yard work a lot. He helped the neighbor with the yard, he talked to them, and they asked for his opinion as far as how to take care of their yards. And so he just enjoyed doing it, so that's why he volunteered the golf course at the JBLM for several years. And as far as the laurel bush, Your Honor, it was pushing against my fence. It was overgrown. And I have to constantly go out there and clean up the debris and the leaves off of there all the time. So I would have took the action to have it cut down myself. Because for the simple reason I say just to keep my yard nice and clean and not have the leaves blow all over the place.
Mr. Fogel, I'll come back to you. She's saying that, you're coming onto their property when you're not there.
Your
When
Honor,
they're
I
not
came
there.
on, Your Honor, I came on their property 3 times to mow their lawn from the end of October to the end of April. Mr. Chelios mowed the other 3 months out of the 6 months that they were gone. And his response was he felt an obligation to the Gilberts for the Gilberts letting them park 2 of his trailers and his son's basketball hoop in their driveway. And I told him that I would help him out if he needed to, since his kids had sports and extracurricular activities in the evenings. And so if I was mowing, then I would do it that month and he was do it the next month. Even though the Gilberts stopped their landscaping company to keep the lawn from getting out of hand, and Mrs. Fogel's lawn, like I said, they were joining front lawns. So I went ahead and mowed Mrs. Fogel's and I went ahead and mowed Mrs. Gilbert's.
And did you have the gentleman behind you? Do you wish to have him
He's here
testify? Does
just
he know?
to protect me. He was thinking about putting a fence along, so he
Okay.
quits coming in our
So
property.
he doesn't, I mean, if he has any, again, I heard from Mrs. Fogel.
Yeah, we asked the neighbor across the street to watch our house. He didn't mow for us. We don't have it mowed. It doesn't grow in the winter time. That's why we stop our service, because it does
Right,
not
right.
grow.
Right.
So we had him parking his stuff there so that it would look like someone was living there while we were gone. We gave him and only him permission, but they parked in our driveway while we were gone and we thought we were being robbed.
Who parked in your driveway?
The Fogels had people parking in our driveway one day. I saw people coming across the front of my grass and I tried calling to see if he knew and he wouldn't answer. So I called and I got a hold of her and she acted like she didn't know what he was doing, but she doesn't seem to know what he's doing. He's always out front. And they're not together, but she pretended that she saw that there was cars being parked. And I said, you could have told us we were gone. We thought we were being robbed. And she said, well, there's going to be more coming. More cars coming to park in our driveway. And it doesn't, our driveways are completely opposite of each other. They're not even next to each other. If you see in those pictures, there's no reason for them to park in our driveway.
Your Honor, can I respond to that, please?
Yes.
In that incident there, we did have a party here for my daughter. I was inside cooking. That's the reason why I didn't know what was going on outside. My daughter's friends came and they parked over there without permission. And I was not aware of it until Mrs. Gilbert called me and asked me if the people that parking, the people is parking in her driveway coming towards my house. Do I know them? And I told her, I said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that they were parking in her parking lot. I say, would you like me to move them? And I say, we're just having a party for my daughter. She go, no, it's okay. I just want to make sure that, she knew who was parking in her driveway. That was the only incident that happened.
She did not say she was sorry. I was floored. She said there's going to be more. That's why I thought of calling the police, but I live next door, so I decided to not.
Um, so you had said, Ms. Gilbert, that the gentleman in the back is here for protection. Has Mr. Fogel ever threatened you or anything like that?
I feel highly threatened. He
No,
runs up
I'm
to
not,
you if you're outside.
I'm not asking you how you feel. I'm just asking you feel, has there been any?
Yeah, I feel threatened because he's come back in my secure backyard and I don't know what somebody's gonna do that would do something like that. It makes no sense. Everybody's trying to make sense and say he's a neighbor. He's not a neighbor. So I'm terrified. I don't know what somebody's gonna do that would do something like that. I am a real estate agent. I deal with tons of other people that have neighbors and everything, and nobody has ever witnessed or had to deal with anything like this. It makes no sense to anyone I've talked to.
Mr. Fogel, I'll give you the final word here. Anything else you wish to say?
Yes, Your Honor. As far as Mrs. Gilbert accusing me of going into her backyard, as I told you, and it's in the statement, all the shrubbery that's hanging over Mrs. Fogel's property was trimmed from Mrs. Fogel's property. All the branches that came down, they put them on Mrs. Fogel's property. The landscaper, her landscaping company, picked everything up and hauled it away. As far as a picture of the gate being open, I have never trespassed on Mrs. Gilbert's property unless I was back there with Mr. Gilbert fixing his sprinkler system, which he asked me to do. As far as the gate being open, the landscape, when they come on Thursday, if I'm here, I see them, they try to close the gate open, but the wind blows it back open. Mrs. Fogel has a Chihuahua that's usually out in front of her yard with me when I'm working in her front yard or her backyard. And I go back and close the gate so the Chihuahua will not go back there. I have not stepped on Mrs. Gilbert's property since Mr. Gilbert invited me back to help him with his sprinkler system.
But you went on there to mow their yard, didn't you?
That is their front yard, yes, Your Honor, 3 times.
So yeah, that's going on to their property.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you did go onto their property. Maybe you were trying to help. I don't know, but
I was trying to be a good neighbor and a courteous neighbor, Your Honor. That's all.
so
I enter my statement that I made into.
I'm sorry,
I enter the statement.
you read that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's on the record. Everything we're doing here is recorded. You can file it if you wish to, but okay, so maybe I should have read this at the beginning. But the definition of harassment, rise level harassment, is a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person that seriously alarms, annoys, or harasses, or is detrimental to such person that serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. Course of conduct must be such as would cause a reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress and must actually cause substantial emotional distress. The course of conduct is defined as a pattern of conduct composed of a series of acts over a period of time, however short, evidencing a continuity of purpose. Course of conduct includes any form of communication, contact, or conduct, including the sender, and so it goes into stuff that aren't really present here. So here's what I'm gonna do here for today. I've read the definition of harassment, as well, of course, of conduct. I'll make a finding that on several occasions, Mr. Fogel went onto the property of the Gilberts, and a couple of times did things that he was not asked to do. And when you talk about harassment, most times would come from harassment. Usually people are threatening towards each other. And while I'm not going to make any finding that this rises to the level of that, it is annoying, when and then we have someone else next to you. That's not the person who was sitting next to you a minute ago.
I know you are. It's my oldest daughter.
Okay. And so, you just can't do that there, Mr.
Yes, I
Fogel.
understand that.
Property without permission and do that, maybe their lawn needs mowing, but that's their problem, not yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
And the bushes, yes, you're entitled to cut bushes from your own yard, but it's not your yard.
Yes, Your
And you don't live there. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna enter, but a lot of times when these orders entered, there's a distance restriction that says don't come within 1,000 feet or what have you.
Yes, Your
I'm
Honor.
not going to enter that, but I am going to enter an order that says you're just not to have any contact with the Gilberts. Don't talk to them. Don't look at them. Don't go onto their property. And that's it. You understand that? So you can
Sure.
still go to and from your ex-wife's and do everything you do to there. You can talk to any other neighbor you want, but you just stay away from the Gilberts and their property. Do you understand
Your
that?
Yes, Your Honor.
So he can still come to the neighborhood. There's nothing, he's not violating this order
Right
to
on
do
the
that.
property line every day,
But
setting it
well,
off.
look, ma'am, this
Yeah.
is what I'm gonna do here for today.
Okay.
And so, and if there's any sort of violation of that, and if you deem that as contact, you can make the appropriate measures you need to take. But just for the next year, you're just not to have any contact with the Gilberts. You understand that, Mr. Fogel?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that'll be it for today. You can get a copy of the order off the Thurston County District Court website. And ma'am, we can make a copy of this order for you here right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're free to leave the Zoom call. Ms. Ray, is that you?
And people
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
are wasting time in court with simple stuff like that. And so
What's that? We have it there.
he's got
Did I
one more
not-
we're going to do coming up next. It's an
Oh,
interesting
okay.
one.
Yeah, come on up. Thanks. I'll make that change. Sorry about that. I didn't see you back here. Otherwise, I would have.
Sorry. I don't want to interrupt.
No, that's all right. You're right. Today is September 16th.
You said it was for the 30th, right?
Yes, Kayla, give me a whiteout, please.
Yes.
Sorry for making you wait around all day for
It's
that.
okay.
I said
Giving
30.
me more experience, even though I hope to not need experience. You know what I mean?
You may go.
Thank you.
Sorry about
Have a good
that.
day.
Thank you. Ms. Ray. We start. Actually. So Ms. Langhorst, you're here. And then you ever served with this petition? How did you find out how to be here?
She served papers,
Okay, so you were served. Okay,
and then this is my son,
got it.
and
And you folks lived together?
yes, 8
Okay.
years.
And then you folks are neighbors?
No. She.
Okay, so
moved-
hang on just a second. So if we're gonna start with the testimony, we're gonna start with her. I'll swear her in, and then I'll swear you folks in, and then I'll hear from you. Okay? So I'll come back to you. I'll let you tell that story. I was just kind of looking for a yes or no there. If the answer was going to be longer than that, then we're gonna swear everybody in, and I'll hear your version of what's going on out there.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Go ahead, ma'am. Could you raise your right hand, Ms. Ray? You swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead, I'll hear from you.
Okay. I served an order, had it served against Jeremy because he's just got more aggressive, like he's always felt welcome to come into the yard for some reason. Now he's sticking his chest out and rushing at me like he's trying to intimidate me, and it does. It started with him stealing off the porch a heater. And he came the next day and I said, did you come to tell me that you were going to bring the heater back? And he said, I didn't take your heater or your pack of cigarettes. I didn't say anything about the cigarettes. So, he just comes and takes what he wants. Lately, he's vandalizing property. We're in the middle of a remodel, the dishwasher. There's a pile of stuff out and back. I saw him kick them all over out of the pile. He's vandalizing my slow down in the driveway signs. I literally saw him take them off, throw them in the blackberry bushes. I put them back up. He did it again. Now they're back up with some pretty heavy duty wire. He calls me names. He doesn't. I have 3, 5, and 7-year-old grandkids that our kids don't even want to leave him there with us anymore because he's out of control. He was arrested with less than 24 hours after being served the temporary order. He's got a long record. He was picked up earlier this year out in the access road. That's why we have an access road. He doesn't need to leave that and come on our property. And he was picked up early in the year for yelling at the top of his lungs naked with a knife on the access road. I shouldn't have to live like that. I shouldn't have to worry about him coming over onto the property.
What's your response to the question that I asked Ms. Lang? I mean, are you folks neighbors, or how close do you live to each other?
They live behind us.
Okay.
And there's an access road that we have to let them up.
Right.
But he hangs out in our driveway, which is not part of the access road. He leaves the access road and hangs out in front of the house. He doesn't need to do that.
What about Ms. Langhorst? You've asked for an order against her also.
Well, because she sits, she pulls in the driveway, honks her horn till somebody finally goes out and says, please don't call the police against Jeremy. Don't call the police. So when he was ripping the signs down, it was probably a couple of weeks ago, I called her and she screamed at me so loud. It was, I can't tell you one word she said. It was incoherent and hung up on me.
That was Jeremy.
Okay, so ma'am, you'll give a turn.
Okay.
Like, remember what I said at the beginning, don't be
I'm
talking to
sorry.
the other party.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
go ahead, ma'am, you may continue.
That's about it. He just does not need to come onto our property and rush at me when I'm out watering. I shouldn't have to be afraid to take the garbage out to the garbage can and have him rushing at me. Coming up now, we quit going out to the front porch so much. We've been in the back porch because it's quieter, or it's, I don't have to worry about him as much. Now he's just blatantly coming.
How long have you lived there, ma'am?
5 years.
Okay. And then how long has this been going on?
It was probably 4 years. It's just getting worse now.
I see.
The aggression's getting worse. Just the last year or so.
Ms. Langhorst, you could raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely.
You can put your hand down. So what's happening out there? First of all,
Okay.
you go ahead and tell me what's happening, and then what I really want to know is, do you need to go onto her property to get to yours?
I don't go on her property.
Okay.
I have an easement that is my easement into my driveway. I have pictures of everything.
Okay, so just
I need to show you though.
okay, well, you can, but okay, so go ahead. I'll hear from you. What about the honking?
I don't honk anywhere. I don't go in their driveway, period. You need to hear the story here to know what's going on.
Okay.
I have an easement. I've lived in my house for 27 years.
Okay.
She lives with Ken, who owns his property. She lives with him.
All right.
And she's been nothing but trouble to me, calling me on the phone, telling me somebody's going into the easement too fast because she don't want dust on her car. And she, can I show you something?
Well, just finish your story, and then
She's put signs up on my easement F you, slow down, asshole. I had a friend, I didn't have the friend do this. He was appalled, and I have a letter from him. He was appalled that she could put signs like that up on it's my easement, not theirs. Okay, I've always never cared about kin coming in on the easement, no big deal. I've never had any problems with kin who owns the property at all, ever, 27 years. Jeremy always went down there to Ken's and they exchanged conversation. He gave Ken cigarettes. Yes, he did take a propane tank off their porch and put a fan there because, and I told Cindy this, he put it there because he thought he loved Ken and it would burn their house down. He has not been down there. He did not see the protection order. And he was so offended. I've got pictures of it, of the signs, and this is her standing on her porch. She watched every car that moved, come up my easement into my place, called me on the phone. This car went in there too fast. I don't mind Cindy having a 15 mile an hour speed. I've never went up my driveway fast since I've lived there. Never. She wanted to put speed bumps, a gate across it. She's caused me problems with my heart. And also Jeremy was away from the house for other reasons for a while. He has a mental disorder, but he is one of the kindest people in the world until he saw the signs that say asshole, F you, and I've got pictures of
Do you have pictures of those?
Yeah.
Okay, so just show them to Ms. Ray first.
She knows what's there.
Okay,
I
I want you to show them. I'm not gonna look at anything until, actually, ma'am, are you with them?
Yeah.
Could we want you to save Ms. Langhorse a trip there? If you wouldn't mind coming up, ma'am, you can stay seated. Ms. Langhorse, stay seated, please. I'm just gonna have you take those pictures, give them to Ms. Ray.
That's my sister who lived on my property.
Okay, all right,
for
thank you.
16 years.
Okay, all right.
Here.
Go ahead and take a seat there. No, she can take a seat there. You can go back.
I also want to give you, Judge Meyer, I want to give you the letter.
Well, who's the letter from?
The friend who took the pictures because he was so appalled.
No, that's it. I don't need that.
It's just a total embarrassment to have those on my easement.
Okay. Could you, and Ms. Ray, can you bring those up to me, please?
That's her standing out there eyeing whatever's going on, like she did for months. And I got a call on the phone, and I believe Jeremy hung up on her for a harassment. He thought it was a harassment person. I have always been cordial to Cindy, except when she started ranking my son.
Okay.
For putting
Did you put this sign up, ma'am?
I did.
Can these go in the file?
I don't care.
Yeah, okay. We'll put
But
those.
I can't live. I have health problems. I had a brain bleed and heart problems. I can't deal with. And Jeremy got angry because the signs were on the driveway, on my easement. It's not their property, period.
Well, I'm not gonna take a whole lot of time.
They have their own driveway to come into their place. And
Okay,
now
so
I,
hang on just a second, ma'am.
okay, I'm upset.
Okay, clearly.
I can't believe this is happening.
Well, it is. And so,
I don't want to go
I'd
on her
appreciate it if
property.
you wouldn't interrupt me, was what I would like.
I'm very sorry. I'm sorry. I'm upset. This is appalling to me.
Okay, so. Ms. Ray, I'll come back to you. I thought I heard Ms. Langhorse mentioned Ken. Ken, does he live there still?
Yes, that's
And
right.
he had indicated that, she had indicated that Ken and Jeremy used to get along, still get along. What say you to that?
Well, even after I moved in, Jeremy would come and hang out on the front porch for a while. And I'd say it's time to go, he'd go, but he's gotten more aggressive. Can I make a response about the access road?
Yeah.
It is in fact an access road. Ken owns it. The signs are on his property line.
So
Yes.
whether, okay, that's what I started to say.
Okay.
And I'm not going to go into the term. I mean, I know what an easement is and where it goes. Maybe an easement might go over someone's other property.
Right.
You don't need to explain that to me.
Oh,
You know, she does own it. She has an interest apparently in that property. And when she has an easement, she can drive back and forth. Yes, maybe it goes through your property, but you know, again, the distinction that's kind of a distinction without a difference for me. So what I don't want to hear is, you know, who owns the property or who owns the easement or all that sort of stuff.
They have their
I
own
do, please,
driveway.
man. See, you just gotta, there's just basic manners that you need to conduct yourself in court.
I'm sorry.
And one of them is you don't interrupt the other party. And, you know, it's really not a great idea to be interrupting the judge either.
I've never been
It's
to
just
court.
not. Well, I have. And I'm trying to tell you
Okay.
how to behave once you're here. And that is don't interrupt when people are talking, anyone. So again, this really isn't in front of me in terms of who owns the easement and all that sort of stuff. I mean, anyway, go ahead, ma'am. You were saying,
well,
or were you saying that
I
don't
was-
talk about the
I
easement and
was
property
done.
owners? Okay. All right. So Jeremy, I haven't heard from you.
A long time.
Um,
Hi,
hi.
my name is Jeremy Doe, attending the statement.
Yeah, you told me that when you came up here earlier. So give me a minute here. So you were here a couple days ago. Do you remember that? Do you remember being arrested?
Yeah,
Do you remember being in jail?
yeah,
Do you remember being let out?
yeah.
Do you remember anything else about that?
I don't like plunging in the toilet.
I'm sorry, you need to speak a little bit louder.
I don't like plunging in the toilets, and it's hard to do.
Okay. But
I had my wraps up. I got snipped off and I left.
okay. So,
It's district court.
you know, what's the story out there with you and Ken? Is Ken a friend of yours? Or a guy you know?
Used to be.
When did it stop? Okay, ma'am, Ms. Langhorst, I'm talking to him. Here's, go ahead, or do you remember? Do you have an opinion as to when it stopped?
Years ago,
I'm sorry?
around 6 months ago.
Okay, what happened? Do you remember what happened?
Yeah, actually what I did was I just went back to my house.
Okay. So do you hang out there anymore? Do you go to visit anymore to the Rays or Ms. Ray? I don't know what Ken's last name is.
Yeah, I can't.
Can you stay off that property?
Yeah,
Okay. Can you not rip signs down?
right,
You understand that even if you don't
Yeah.
like them?
right, yes.
Okay.
Can I have,
No.
no, I can't say. it.
So here's the thing, Ms. Ray, and everyone else, I'm just going to speak plainly as I can, because he was in front of the court on September 9th. An order was entered that he's to be evaluated for competency, which means he's going to have to be interviewed by Western State Hospital and all that to see if he's even, and since he's out of custody, that's probably, they're so backed up, given the lack of state resources, it's going to be at least a year before we see that. And he's had other cases that have been dismissed for that same reason that I see. And so yeah. With regard to the order against Ms. Langhorst, I'm not going to grant that order at this time. Not all conflict rises to the level of harassment. If people don't like each other, they don't get along with each other, that's one thing. I'm not going to grant an order against Mr. Stegman too, because basically I'm concerned about a lot of the things that I just identified. I can't make a finding that he's intentionally trying to be harassing or upsetting or anything like that. But you need to stay off that property. Can you understand that? You're not to go there anymore.
Yes, correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And with regard to you two, you have rights in the easement, right? I already told you I'm not, just close your mouth and don't act so shocked, all right?
No,
It
no,
just-
I'm not acting
okay,
shocked.
okay,
I just wanted to speak again
Okay,
because
no, you're not, but you know, you have a right to an easement. Apparently you have an easement interest on that, but you just not interrupt me, please.
I didn't.
Okay, you want to say something and you're trying to start. I mean, again, I've been at this long enough to know when people want to talk. Okay, so just exactly. So you have an easement. You have some choices to how you want to take advantage of that. You can take advantage of it in a way that you know she wants, that's appropriate and respectful to your neighbor, or not, right? And with regard to you, ma'am, they have a right to go on this. You don't, this might be bad news for you, but you don't have the right to impose speed limits on that. You just don't. I mean, you don't, you know, if they're being reckless or something like that, then you can do it. But I mean, if you have the 5-mile speed limit up, if they come in at 10, you can't write them a ticket. And so you can request that and have them respect that. And they can't be, like, again, they can't be reckless and drive on it without a license and all of that. But you guys have lived next to each other long enough. You should be able to figure this out between the two of you. And then see, and then everyone's going to say, oh, it's not my fault, it's theirs.
Can I speak yet?
But ma'am, I will tell you this. I've already told you I'm not going to enter an order. If you choose to speak, the only thing you're going to do is talk me out of that to do something else.
No. I don't care if you have an order.
Okay.
I don't go there to her anyway. The only time that I've ever even talked to Cindy,
Okay. Did you hear what I said about how you conduct yourself on the easement?
I have always went up that I respected Ken from the time I've moved there to go up that easement
Okay.
slow. It's the people who come to my easement to come to visit me
Okay.
have went up the driveway faster than they should. I don't care if she has a speed limit sign.
Okay, so hang on just a second. Did you ever think to maybe talk to those folks about, hey, you might
I
want to slow down?
did.
Okay. Did they respect that?
Yes. Yes, she
You agree
doesn't
with
want
that?
dust on her car.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I don't care about the speed limit sign on my easement, but the ones that say the F word and the ones that say asshole are very disrespectful to my company that comes in
All right.
into my place. I don't
Well,
care.
again, hang on just a second. To come back, because again, you should,
This is
you're-
what this is actually
yeah.
all about.
you're
I
not,
don't honk
hang
my-
on just a second. You're not helping yourself. So I'm going to stop you.
Okay,
But with regard to you, putting signs like that, which I'm not going to repeat, are provocative. I mean, anybody who reads a sign like that, who's driving on that road, is going to think, gosh, they're talking about me. What the person
embarrassing.
calling me that for? So that's, again, that's another reason why I'm not entering the order. But, and so, because again, a lot of that, I consider that provocative when you put up signs like that. And so I'm not going to enter order right now. Jeremy, you need to stay off the property. And
Yes, Your
ma'am,
Honor.
and I don't, I don't know whether anything I've said has made anything registered on you.
Yes, it has.
And so,
But I don't go on there.
and so, but with regard to, don't put signs up like that. I know you don't be calling people those names.
And I took the one with the F word down, or that's been down
Okay.
since after 2 days.
All
I
right.
just wanted to make a point that the posts were private property and they couldn't take stuff off of them.
All right, that's it for today. You all are free to go. You can get copies of the denial orders off the Thurston County District Court website.
Could I have my pictures back?
No, you said you said I could put them in the file.
No, I want those pictures
Do
back. I need,
do you have digital copies of them?
no, I got those copies. You didn't get the letter from my.
No, I
friend.
don't, I don't need that.
Okay,
I asked you if you could put them in the file when they go in the court file. Can you make copies of those? I can't. They'll be black and white. You can get them back black
I'd
and
like
white.
those copies back.
No,
Well,
you can't have them, ma'am. They've been submitted in the court file.
I can, okay, no problem. And I'm sorry if I was rude in
You
here.
can go, you should just stop and you're free to go. You can go. Would make black and white copies of it.
For being so kind.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You stay off the property there, Jeremy.
You're right, Your Honor.
Can I say something?
No, you cannot. The
Not even
hearing's
if-
over. The other party's gone. You,
Ken doesn't care if we come on there, his
okay,
property.
okay, so I just told you to stop talking. Listen to your sisters. It's you. Okay, so you can have this conversation out in the hallway.
You're not giving her back.
Give a warm heart, man.
Okay, take it.
Yeah.
Jeremy, why don't you come on up? I'll give you these pictures back. You can have black and white.
Something.
Shut up.
Okay, you guys are gonna be asking for orders against each other in a few minutes.
When he
You
went
would,
over to
okay,
the property,
ma'am, just stop,
I didn't
please.
show him the no
Stop
contact
talking.
order. I didn't show Jeremy the protection order, so when now he's in court and she put him in jail. I didn't show
Okay, ma'am,
Jeremy.
ma'am, the hearing is over. You're free to go.
I keep thinking she's going to ask one more time if she can say something. The next one's a good little property line dispute. I think they argue over one. I think it's 6 inches they're arguing about on a fence line. So it's typical Thurston County. So here we're gonna go over that.
All right.
I don't think Mike is.
So, Ms. Youth, is that you? Or you? You come up there, and so which must make you Ms. McDaniel. Come on up here. So this looks like also to be, and you're asking for petitions against each other. Just a second. So again, just so I get this right, you're Ms. Youth, correct? You're Ms. McDaniel.
Correct.
And then, is it Sabin Woods? Are you Mr. Woods? Sabin, I apologize for that. Yeah, you come up too. Sorry about that. I should have brought you up here also. So, I will say that whenever I see petitions against each other, my first question is always, you both want the same thing, to be left alone by the other person. What really do you need me for? So you could just let that question hang for a minute. And then I did review what's being submitted, but and again, Ms. Youth, just because for no particular reason, it doesn't matter who files first, but you did file first. I'll start with you. Could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You can put your hand down. This strikes me as being kind of a property dispute as to where the line is. Is that correct or not? Or, okay. So, how long have you lived there?
8 years going on 9.
Okay. And then how long has Ms. Hang on just a second. Could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
You can put your hand down. How long have you lived there?
3.5 years.
Okay. So, okay, Ms. Youth, I'm gonna come back to you. How long has this been going on? Is this a recent thing, or has it been, did you used to get along, or, because I see that all the time. Everything was fine until we got a survey and it was off by 6 inches. And so tell me what's going on out there.
Okay. So we are usually gone in the winter time.
Okay. I've heard that before this morning. Go ahead.
So we got a call from our neighbors that someone had bought the piece of property next to us and they were going to cut down a tree that's on our property. And so I got Leslie's information and gave her a phone call and let her know that that tree wasn't in fact on her property. And that she might want to get a survey done before she buys the property because there is definitely some.
Well, how long ago was this?
Before she even moved in.
So like 3.5 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, so apparently, okay, continue on, sorry.
So then apparently she had the survey done, which showed the tree was actually shared. So
Okay.
Both of ours. And my phone call with her, she thought the tree was dead. I let her know, because she was moving in before it actually had leafed out. I let her know the tree was very much alive and that it provided us with a lot of shade to the point where we don't have to run our very noisy air conditioning in the summertime. And I thought that conversation, I thought it was settled at that point, being a shared tree. We did not want it cut down.
Okay.
And then we get another phone call saying that she was going to go ahead and cut the tree down anyway because it's messy. I don't know how she would know that at that point, except, a tree with leaves. So we had to end our trip 2 weeks early and rush home to save the tree. And so I put a sign on the tree just in case, we didn't wake up in time to stop the tree company that was supposed to be there the next morning, letting them know, don't cut the tree down, property of, our address. And so we met the tree company and Leslie and her boyfriend outside of the property the next morning.
And again, this is 3.5 years ago, correct?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
And she had intended on having the tree cut down, but we let the tree service know it's a shared tree. We don't okay for that to be cut down.
Right.
We did agree to let Leslie chop all of the branches off on her side of the tree.
Okay.
So, to prevent them from hitting her RV, whatever mess. And we thought that was the end of it. Leslie and us were friends after that. She had told me that there was another huge tree in the front that she wanted to cut down because she wants to have a garden in her yard. She wants flowers. And so we were friends. I gave her a couple 6-foot cedar planter boxes, brand new. We agreed to do this shared garden together, which I personally took my truck down, loaded up the blacktop, brought it back. My son dumped it out so we could do a shared garden. We had been friends all summer. We had invited her to all of our family gatherings, events out with our friends. And then she had made an offhanded comment before we left for the next winter, saying she was going to get another survey done because the survey line went through a shed that she had built after she moved in. And I said, well, Leslie, no, you had that shed built after you had this property surveyed. Getting another survey done isn't going to give you more of my property. And that was the end of that conversation. And so we're out of town again. We get another phone call telling us that she's had the property resurveyed and the survey markers had put the tree on her property and she was going to have the tree cut down again. And I saw a picture of the markers and showed them to my husband. He sent her a text saying, we're not going to honor that survey. We're going to have another one done. We'll go by whatever this other one says. But, to have a property line move over 18 inches is kind of, anyway, so we came back home and called the same survey company that she had hired to survey initially.
Mm-hmm.
And he resurveyed, put the line back to where it originally was, had commented that the back marker had been moved somehow, and put the line back. So she built a fence. She put up a cedar fence, split rail fence. And I thought that would be the end of it. Minus the story. I mean, you've seen what I wrote in there about her. When she had the new survey done, she had thrown out all of my plants from our shared garden, just throwing them in my driveway. My daughter-in-law happened to be in my yard taking care of it. She keeps it clean while we're gone. and caught her throwing the plants in the driveway barefooted, and confronted her about it and said, you know, this is not your property yet. You know, they're going to have another survey done. It's technically not your property. I'm sure you saw that video that I sent you. And she cussed out my daughter-in-law. We came home and had the other survey done again, that the property line was moved back. She built a fence. She'd claimed in what she had written to you is that I had harassed her fence builder so much that he moved her fence back, but she actually did the line prep for the fence. I mean, you saw the picture that I gave you, her actually making that. The fence was put exactly where she had prepped. And she couldn't put it anywhere else. The property line, I think you've seen the pictures I also gave you where the marker is next to her fence.
Okay. And
The white one
continue on.
in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she just keeps coming over and marking off the old line, coming onto my property, tearing out my plants on my side of her fence.
Okay.
I put up no trespassing signs when we got back, hoping that would stop her. She still kept coming over. So I put another no trespassing sign where she keeps coming in between the tree. She decided to take a dead tree, and not in a pot, I mean, it's completely dead, knocked my sign down and stuck the dead tree in its place.
Okay.
So I called an officer and I said, could you please call my neighbor and ask her to please stop trespassing? And he goes, well, you should file blah, blah, blah at the court. And I said, I'd rather not take that step yet. I would appreciate if you would just call her and let her know that if she keeps doing this, I will have to take that step. And then I asked him if it would be escalation if I went and removed her string and the stake she had placed in my yard. She makes it look like a
So it's
survey
on
company.
your side of the fence.
Yeah,
Nice.
she put a stake from, there is a survey company in the park. Our property is part of this amended phase 2 where they're going to give us more space in the back and take away, because we own like half the access road. So we're trading. They're going to take back that and we're going to get property in the back. So they had a marker back there. Somehow that marker ended up in my yard further down with her string marking off property that is not hers.
There's a fence. This is on your side of the fence.
Yeah, yeah. And she's ripped up all of the plants that are even anywhere near like that far back on my property. I've got her on video ripping out those plants. I sent you the picture of her with the armload of them. I just would like her to stay on her side of the fence. I don't think that's too much to ask. The survey twice now puts the line where she built her fence, and I don't understand why she can't just stay on her side. After her phone call with the officer, she came into my yard again. She said, where's my effing tree? We didn't answer. We were sitting out in the yard. I had taken the stake that she'd put in my yard and the dead tree and placed them at the end of her fence out at the road. She went out there, found them, took the stake, threw it across the road into the bushes, grabbed her dead tree, called me a bitch, and put the tree back in my yard. So I filed against her. And now she has filed, in one day, she filed 10 complaints against us in our park. One of them being the property line, where you can see in their response to her, they told her her string does not represent the property line. She had us remove, well, she requested that we remove a camera. We didn't have to. We can legally have cameras on our property, protecting our property. But she claimed this camera was spying on her. And so we took it down. I wish I hadn't. I would have had her trespassing a lot more. But I just want her to stay on her side of her fence.
Let me hear from her, ma'am. I think I got a good understanding of your position. But the tree, was the tree ever cut down, or is that still up?
It's still up, but yeah.
I was just curious.
It's been a fight to keep it up.
Ms. McDaniel, I think I've already sworn you in.
Yes, sir.
And so I understand why they're asking for an order. I'll guess here for you, why you feel you need an order against them.
Well, for one thing, she did not have my phone number before I moved in. We never had a conversation about the tree. What happened was I was looking at the lot. My boyfriend noticed all the other trees were budded out. This one wasn't. His comment was,
Okay,
if
so
this,
hang on, I'm gonna stop you there
Oh,
because
yes, sir.
I'll tell you what's bothering me about what she said, what I want you to address.
yes, sir,
First of all, the tree's a non-issue because it hasn't been cut down.
correct.
But what the thing that, and again, maybe you may have, I don't know if you were paying attention. I wouldn't blame you, any of you, if you weren't. But at the previous hearing, we had similar to the thing that bothered me, frankly, was one person going on to another person's property uninvited, doing stuff. And that's what I want you to talk about.
Okay.
Let's talk about that, because the tree hasn't been cut down, it's still up, and but again, the fence has been apparently been put up. She's saying, and I'll hear from you, you've been going on to her property and ripping up her plants, throwing a dead tree in here and making some unkind comments. And so I'll hear from you on that. And then I'll hear from your response to that. And I also want to know why you're asking for an order. She explained pretty well why she feels like she's being harassed. I want to know why you think and then I didn't hear from you, Mr. Woods, because you're not listed as a petitioner, but you are listed as a respondent. And after I'm here from her, then I might hear from you both. So how is it you need an order against them? That's my question.
I feel that I am constantly being stalked and or harassed.
How so?
You are not supposed to have cameras within the living space in the park. Their camera, as you can see through one of those pictures, is inside their rig, looking directly at my front door. If my door is open, they can see inside. They watch me 24/7, no matter what I do. And in all honesty, sir, I had one surveyor that I hired.
Do you have any questions? Is there any dispute in your mind? I feel like they're pretty clear. They know where the line is.
I am also very clear. There are stakes.
Okay, so hang on just a second. Do you agree with them?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
There are surveyor stakes in the ground. Let me start. May I explain about the fence? And the
I'm
tree?
asking you to explain.
Okay. She intimidated the gentleman that was building my fence, asking where he had to cut a tiny piece of a root out of this tree to put the post in. She apparently had a little bit of a fit about it and wanted a piece of the tree, wanted the root as evidence in case, I'm sure if the tree died, it would be all my fault. But he never gave it to her. But he was so intimidated, he moved it back 6 inches because she was over him constantly. So he told me that. And I said, well, I wish you hadn't have done that. But with that being said, my fence is about 6 inches inside my property line. I went to the office. It is noted in the office at Lost Lake Resort that the fence is inside my property line. Right now, the park has hired a different surveyor to make sure where the property lines are and where the markers are. I have not moved any markers. She was there, I was there, the COA president was there, Sabin was there. We all saw the markers done by the surveyors. I don't understand why there's any question. I step over my fence to weed my 6 inches, weeds, not plants. And as far as plants going out of her yard, when her daughter, I started working in the yard about 10 o'clock in the morning, and she's there with her phone. To me, that's harassment. She stalked me while I worked in my yard, prepping for my fence all day. Finally, in the afternoon, I did lose my temper. I told her to F off, get away from me. She looked at me and she goes, stop talking. Excuse me? Okay, well, whatever. I will just continue, just another whatever on them. So I don't understand why they keep saying I am on their property. I am not. It is denoted by the pegs that are secured in the ground. I have not moved any of them. You can't.
But 6 inches, I mean, that's.
It's
right.
my foot. I straddle the fence to weed my property. That's it. But I
how
don't
tall is this
appreciate,
fence?
pardon me?
How tall is the fence?
It's low.
Okay.
It has to be a certain cedar rail fence to be accepted in the park. I liked the look of it. I thought it was a wise idea, business wise, to have my property surveyed so I would know what I was paying taxes on. We were fine as friends until Saban sent me a text that said he would, if I touched the tree, they weren't gonna honor it. They weren't gonna honor my surveyor, and they were going to sue me. Don't talk to me about it. Don't ask me what I'm doing. Just send me a text that states that you're gonna sue me. And then I got angry because of that. And I'm a gardener. I did not throw her plants. I scooped them up and I placed them in her driveway. But after I got his
Where did you
text,
scoop them up from? From the 6
for
inches?
some reason, she thought we had decided we would have a shared garden, and that was never discussed either
How long were those plants there?
from the day I moved in.
I know, so plants were there for like a couple of years, then all of a sudden you pulled them up and,
No, she had decided that she wanted to put her tchotchkes, mushrooms, gnomes, and whatever gardening things she wanted in my property. And that's one reason why I decided to have a fence, because I wanted my property to be noted as mine.
okay.
So I gently moved her plants to her side of the driveway. And after I got the text from Saban, yeah, the last 3 plants got thrown, literally. And I called a police officer after that to ask my rights. And I told him what I did. And I'm sorry, he laughed. He thought it was funny and ridiculous. All of this is ridiculous. We shouldn't be here. But I don't appreciate Saban sneaking around behind my lot, bobbing and weaving and trying to see what I'm up to, because they can't see what I'm doing over there, and they're darn tootin' gonna find something they can complain about me. And the reason I filed 10 ordinances, information reports on them is because they were called for. They do not obey or honor the quiet hours. We're technically only supposed to have 1 string of lights. She has laser lights that shine up in all the trees so you can't even see the stars. It goes on. I constantly feel like they're poking at me. I don't like being videoed 24/7. I can imagine I'm pretty boring. So I just don't appreciate the harassment every single day. I wake up with anxiety. I think about them first thing in the morning. I'm wondering what they're going to do, what they're going to complain about. What did I do to upset them today? I just want to garden and be left alone. We both want the same things, but it's over this much property that is mine. It is denoted. There are stakes in the ground from the surveyor that are officially noted.
Okay, so ma'am, I'm gonna hear from Mr. Woods. I heard from you, Mr. Woods. Could you raise your right hand, please?
Sir.
You swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can put your hand down and ma'am, you'd probably be doing yourself a favor if you just turned around and looked at me. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Woods.
I have made some bullet points. I'd like to just go through them real quick. One, we have not ever been on her property without invitation. And that was at the beginning when her boys were helping her actually spread some gravel and we did some work. I fixed a propane tank for her once, but that's been 3+ years ago. In her note, there is an issue I have with defamation of character, which I don't know how to address yet, but I just will bring that to your attention. The cameras that we have are viable in the park. Everybody has them. They are pointed in our yard. They might look like they point towards something, but they all go in the green belt or over our hot tub. They do not point at her front door. We do not agree where the line is because her survey that she got was proven to be wrong. When we got the new one, our surveyor talked to her surveyor for the last survey she had gotten. They admitted they were wrong. It shows on our survey, which we have filed with the county, that that stake was in the wrong position that was originally found. So it is marked on that survey. The marker that she is talking about in the back where she is tying her string to is not official yet. That would be a marker that is possibly our new back marker after the phase 2 amendment goes through. How that marker even got in the ground, don't know, because phase 2 has not been implemented. So how that marker got where it is a mystery. And it's not currently in use. So the old marker actually is behind one of her sheds on COA property. The pics she submitted, you can tell she is on our side of the property. She has to be on our side of the fence to take those pictures. Her survey again was proven wrong. The text that I sent her, I think I don't have it, but I think she gave you a copy of it. I thought it was very clean and legal. There was no threats or anything except for the fact that we had 2 surveys that said different things. We were going to get a 3rd survey. We would follow the 3rd survey, but do not touch the tree until we get back, because we were gone. We weren't even there. And she has done that 3 years running where she surprises us while we're gone with something like this. We have never complained about her to the park. We have never filed any incidents. We have never complained to anybody. We might have had discussions with friends on, we're wondering what she's up to, but her talking about us finding things to talk to people or the board or HO meetings about has never happened. And the 10 incidents that she did file at the same time that she filed her to come here, all were thrown out except one, which was our truck was parked temporarily on COA property while we're clearing out an apple tree that we want to park our truck in the front of our property, which is next to the shared property. So all the other ones were thrown out by the COA.
May I say something?
Yes, ma'am. I'll give you the final word here.
I disagree with that completely,
Okay, I'm
obviously.
not, that doesn't surprise me.
Right.
But go ahead. You can, I'll hear from you.
Whatever surveys were done, all of them are following the same line.
Okay, but you disagree where that line is, apparently.
He disagrees where it is.
Yeah, well, you both disagree.
But
By the very nature,
that's what I don't understand.
if you can't agree, if neither of you agree,
Right.
that tells me you both disagree.
Okay, well, obviously.
So
but
you don't agree either.
What I don't understand is in the back where my newer shed is backed up against Lost Lake land. It is never, ever going to be theirs at that point in time. That stake there goes with the stake to the tree and you draw a line. How is that complicated?
So, well, okay. I didn't mean to
And-
cut you off. If you're done, you can continue.
No, sir. I know their concern is all about this tree. It's all about the tree. But what they don't understand is they do know what Washington state laws are. I don't appreciate them harassing the people that I hire to come to my property to perform work. I had an arborist come to check on the health of the tree, and Sabin chased him down to make sure that he wasn't going to cut down the tree. Well, that's not his job. They don't know who I hired. They're just busybodies in my stuff all the time. They haven't ever filed anything against me in the park because I don't do anything for them to complain about. I don't keep my radio or karaoke machine loud until midnight. I don't have lights everywhere that bother people. I pretty much try to keep to myself. I keep to myself. And I don't understand why they are constantly poking at me. And I've never called her a bitch to that I know of. I only respond in kind. If she yells at me, I will yell back.
Hang on just a second.
And the COA president acknowledged that the markers were true and correct, stage 2 or not.
Yes. Okay, so a couple things here. First of all, I reviewed, yes, I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I
If you're
just
not, I'll
thought of
let you
something
finish.
else. As far as cameras go,
Hmm.
there is a picture in there that you can tell it's from the inside of their rig and it's pointing directly at my front door and my deck. I do not feel comfortable going out there to have a cocktail in the afternoon because I know I'm on camera. I can't enjoy my surroundings.
Okay.
I'm done. Thank you.
Great. And so a couple things. First of all, before I give a ruling on these cases, as I've said before at the beginning of all this, Ms. Youth is asking for an order against Ms. McDaniel. Ms. McDaniel's asking for an order against both Mr. Woods as well as Ms. Youth. As I said somewhat before, maybe off the cuff that, you know, you both want the same thing. What do you need me for? A lot of times in instances in these sorts of cases, like I say, either deny both or grant both. And I'll come back to that in a minute. But here's the thing with regard to the property line. You know, all property dispute, I don't have any jurisdiction over that. You know, whether when you say like, well, the survey says this, well, you know, it's so obvious. Well, it's not obvious. And you clearly don't agree where the property line is. And if you can't work that out for yourselves, and apparently you can't, you need to go to Superior Court and get that straightened out, because that's not something that's in front of me here right now. What's in front of me right now is whether or not a pattern of harassment has been shown by either party against the other parties. With regard to Ms. Yu's petition, and again, I will disagree with you on this, Ms. McDaniel, and that is, yeah, a lot of it's about the tree, but that's not why we're here. We're here because you came onto her property, threw a bunch of stuff on there, threw a dead tree on there, pulled up plants from her property. But again, when you talk about 6 inches on the other, I mean, that's just, when I'm holding my hands approximately 6 inches apart, that's really not practical in light of photographic evidence that I have seen and reviewed in the film that I have viewed. And I will make a finding that you went onto their property, left stuff on their property on more than one occasion, which I do find harassing. And I'm going to enter an order that says you're just not to, again, there's not going to be a distance restriction, you know, don't come within 1,000 feet. You're just not to come onto their property. Do you understand that?
Of course.
And so, good, I hope so. And I know they do. With regard to your petition against both of them, that petition is going to be denied based on what I've heard from you. I can't find it, you know, they didn't go onto your property. They're not doing anything. Yes, they're protective of that tree. And I'm not making any ruling on that sort of thing because I can't. With regard to the threat to sue, I mean, frankly, was entirely appropriate. And I would have said something to the effect of, you know, if you cut that tree down, you do so at your peril, because they'll have opportunities to, and I've seen cases like that case, you know, criminal trespass, destruction of trees on, you know, I see cases like that in here all the time. I'm not done yet. And so I don't find anything inappropriate about that. With regard to the cameras, you know, I've not been phoned sufficiently where the cameras have been placed in a way that's harassing. I'm sorry, you can't feel like you can enjoy, to use your words, a cocktail in the afternoon, but my understanding is that that complaint was made to the cameras about the homeowners association, which I've told has been dismissed. And so I'm going to back that up. I'm not going to make any finding in that regard, but you know, the tree remains an issue. But again, if you can't sort it out amongst yourselves, like I say, you're going to have to get a Superior Court judge to do it. But I will find that the behavior you've engaged in has gone beyond the level of just, you know, going onto their property. As you've seen from the earlier case, that kind of bothers me. You know, people have a right to not have people come onto their property undivided for any reason. And putting things, and I know in your opinion, you disagree with me, and ma'am, and I get it. People disagree with me. You've seen several people disagree with me already here this morning. And I understand if you disagree what I'm doing here now, but that's what I'm going to do. You've been wanting to say something. I'm done. If you want to say something, you can.
Well, I am very well aware of what the Washington state rules are about the tree. And I just wish they'd relax about it, because I don't care about the tree anymore. There isn't anything I can do about it. It's there, it's going to stay. Who cares? Get over it.
Well, again, I will say, ma'am, I would suggest you look at yourself in the mirror when you say get over it, because it seems to me like you're the one who frankly hasn't gotten over it by the way you've conducted yourselves on their property. That's just my impression from not knowing any of you. I've never met any of you before right now, but just the impression I've got. You kind of need to let things go there too. And again, if you disagreement, you want to get into a Superior Court case over those 6 inches, you're both are free to do it, but that's what's going to happen here today.
May I ask another question?
Yes.
If the surveyors deem that the property lines are correct by the stakes, am I allowed to go on that 6 inches of property that would then be mine?
See, here's the thing, ma'am, and
I'm just asking.
I'm gonna give you an answer, because the surveyors, their survey is an opinion, right? And that only becomes your property when a Superior Court judge tells you that it does. If it's disputed, it's disputed. So, and again, they call those actions quiet titles, and you need to quiet title in that disputed 6 inches of land out there. So if you're asking for my permission to do that, you're not going to get it.
No, that's not
because
what I'm
I'm not in
asking.
position to give it.
I'm not asking that.
Well, you kind of were.
No.
Yeah, you said, am I entitled to go on there? And I'm saying I'm
No,
not.
I was asking if the,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
never
saying-
mind.
And yeah, that's
never
right.
mind. It's all good.
So does you folks have any questions about what's happening here? Again, you're not to go, I'm signing your order is going to be granted. Yours is going to be denied because I haven't found any sort of pattern of harassment, but you're not to go onto their property. Do you understand that?
Absolutely.
Got it. Or contact. And again, let me back up here a little bit. Give me just a second.
That's about it there. I'm gonna throw up a quick little video to finish up the night, and thank you guys for sticking with it. We did an hour and 47 minutes. I'm trying to work up to 2 hours. I'm trying not to bore everybody though, but thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you for having such great conversations in there. I'm gonna throw you a little video. This one's for Linus, so make sure, Linus, if you're busy, make sure you pay attention to this part here. It's for you.
Do you see how I give you the side eye? Very demure, very mindful. I don't stare at you like I'm an evil beast.